You said it. It's like, well, like that could have been the perfect excuse, and it was the biggest. It's like, well, I don't know how to make chocolate. Then after there's like, well, I looked into, the next month I said, well, go to culinary school. Well, I looked into culinary schools. No one really taught chocolate. No one did, not really. They didn't, especially in 2007, 2008. So, and even today, it's not a major focus. And as I know things that I know now, it's kind of by design from an industry standpoint, because it's designed to really kind of be an exclusive community, so to speak. Now you're seeing people, because of time and technology and perseverance, more people are starting to enter into it and become self-taught. But particularly when I started, being self-taught was essentially an unheard of.
Okay, everybody, I am back with another episode of So What Success Stories. And today I am talking to my friend, Phillip Ashley Rix, better known as Phillip Ashley. Phillip is a chef, an entrepreneur, a food stylist, an award winning chocolatier, and affectionately known as the real life Willy Wonka. I am super excited to be talking to Phillip because he has an amazing story. So let's get right into it. Phillip, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, thanks for having me, Summer. I'm happy to be on the show. But where do I start? So once upon a time, no, I grew up in Memphis, went to high school here, went off to college at Middle Tennessee State University. And so that's kind of, I was studying chemistry with the intention to go into medical school. And then towards the end there, took a whole beeline, got into the business world of things, and worked for several companies, large brands in the marketing, branding, supply chain, logistics, tech, all that space. The primary focus was consumer packaged goods, which is an industry I'm still in today. But but my time growing up in Memphis, a lot of it was spent, learning. I started learning how to cook at 5 years old from my grandmother, about gardening, about just really how to treat ingredients and that sort of thing. Learned how to build things from my grandfather, played sports growing up, was big into art and history and all of that because my uncle was an artist, my dad's a history teacher. So kind of had this amalgamation of an upbringing, which I draw from today. So, definitely had a good time growing up, thankfully, and got to learn a lot of things. So, but yeah, that's, and then, woke up 3 o'clock one day in 2007 in the middle of the night and said, you know what? Had this crazy dream. I was like, woke up from it and was like, I'm gonna be a chocolatier and make chocolate for the rest of my life. And that's, how we ended up here today.
I
So
think that's so beautiful. I just think about from what I know of you and your life and how all those things have come together to
mhm.
to be the life that you live now, including chemistry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now you're a
yeah,
chocolatier. I just think it's awesome. I really think it's amazing.
yeah,
Um, I'm really excited to get into your story, but first we got to give a shout out
yeah.
to.
Just yeah, just got married. So got married. It's been 3 weeks now. So super excited about that. She's wonderful, and just now building a new life, with all of that. So yeah,
And that's super exciting because I know that that's been part of your journey too, and part of your.
yeah, absolutely.
And so let's get into it because we got
Yeah,
lots.
let's get into it.
So in this program, I have what I call the So What Success System, and
Mhm.
I believe that if you can learn to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices, you can have so what success, and that is success
Mhm.
in spite of any challenges that you face. And you means
Okay.
everybody.
Right.
So Phillip, you and I have gotten to know each other, and I think we were talking about it at one point when we first met. So let's go back to that for a second. I was like, okay, I remember seeing you at a Breakfast Club meeting, and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I was just attending, and because I actually just started So What in the
Okay.
speaking that I was doing. I was still working at FedEx, And I was like, who is this brother, this tall brother, got these tattoos and
That
this shit?
too. Right.
I'm like, that's Phillip Ashley. That's Phillip. Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, okay. And
That
so,
was the early days too. I was just getting going myself. So, that was like 2011, 12, something like that. I was literally I'd been doing it a few years at that point, but that was nowhere near the real inflection point of things taking on. But that was essentially the startup time for sure.
that is so awesome. That is so awesome. It's been amazing to see where your business has gone since
Yeah,
then, the time that we
yeah.
met.
Come a
Okay,
long way.
so cool.
Yeah. Come a
It's
long way.
so cool. So, okay, so with the so what success system,
Mm-hmm.
first part is overcoming obstacles.
Okay.
Share some of the obstacles, personally and professionally, that you've had to overcome to get to where you are today. And you know what? Start with kind of where you are today. Share where you are today, because I know you're a chocolatier, but you got some real cool stuff going on. So
Yeah, yeah.
talk
So
about the obstacles.
yeah, chocolate, being a chocolatier and starting Phillip Ashley Chocolates really, I've always looked at it as the cornerstone and the thing that I wanted to, be able to radiate from and create other opportunities. Having that entrepreneurial mindset and spirit. A lot of times we like, I want to do this, I want to do this. Kind of like the woman off of Coming to America. I want to be I'm the producer, the director, the actor, the singer, and all that. And so a lot of times when folks like myself, I'm always thinking of new ideas, ways to do things better. So one of my obstacles was learning learning how to process that energy and prioritize those ideas and into things that can then be productive and eventually generate revenue versus I'm doing 10 things all at once that aren't doing, that aren't being as productive. They're not as productive, but I'm always doing multiple things. But at this point at this point, I've been doing it for close to 15 years. It's a bit different of a process because now I have a team. I have folks that I'm not having to do every little thing. I'm not making the chocolate all day, et cetera, et cetera. So that was one obstacle, or just an awareness that I had to, and a discipline that I had to create within myself to be more structured, to be able to operate with more with just the more discipline. And so
I'm with you, and I'm still working on it.
there you go. I mean, and it's a process. It's a continual process because with every new plateau or every new, we reach new heights, new challenges, new obstacles come. They think, well, if I'm doing this much in revenue and I have this many employees, everything will be fine. Well, no, it's just a whole different band of obstacles that come. They look different and feel different, but they're still obstacles. My ability to overcome obstacles now may be a lot. I can do it with greater ease today than I could a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Things like, in the very beginning, I had to learn how to actually make chocolate. So I didn't go to culinary school. This wasn't something that, I was born into, which you'll often see around the world. Add to that, particularly when I started, I was the only Black guy doing chocolate like this, not just in the country, but in the world. There, and even today, very, very few people look like me in this space. And so, and particularly with any type of momentum. And so, truly been fortunate. It has taken a lot of work, really understanding how to be nimble and agile to overcome those obstacles, like, not having enough money, not having enough, so being very creative and learning to maximize my output and maximize what I'm able to do within, the current state of resources. But I'll tell you, even more importantly, and this has been my greatest understanding to come over, and that has helped me overcome obstacles of not having enough, or obstacles of not being in the right place, or not knowing how to get to someone. It's really relationships.
Yes.
Relationships are super valuable. I often say relationships are the most valuable currency, because I learned people really want to buy into you before they buy from you. And so whatever that transaction of buying from you is, the most important interaction is really understanding, well, who is Phillip? What's Phillip Ashley Chocolates? What are y'all doing? You know, why should I care? You know, why should I want to buy? Why should I want to support you? Blah, blah, blah. So what's my value proposition, if you will, and how can I create value to this relationship? So it's not always a take thing, you know. So
No,
yeah.
you know what, I'm totally in agreement with that. And you probably know, and probably have seen just from my life, that I truly value and hold on to relationships.
Yeah.
You never know where they're gonna go, right?
Never know.
Like just you and I, and thinking about the times we've encountered each other and how
Yeah.
our relationship has grown and evolved. And I love working with you, and I love supporting you.
Thanks.
So
Likewise.
I'm just thinking about, like, okay, so talk about it a little bit. I go a little bit deeper because you have some cool stuff going on right now.
Yeah, okay,
So
right.
before I even get into the next question, talk
Right.
about some of the things you got going.
No, so you know, obviously with chocolate, we're continuing to grow. We're closing in around 20 employees, and so you know that's one of the most exciting things for me is to be able to hire folks, you know, pay them a living wage, and you know really kind of work through that process of, you know, I've an obstacle right here. As you grow, you really have to manage that quality piece. When it's 2, 3, 4, or 5 people working, you know, it's one thing. And then as that continues to radiate and grow, you know, you have to go back and kind of remanage the production process, the output process, and all of that. So that with employees, but you know, the food stylist thing is really starting to move, and so having an opportunity to spend some time out in LA on a series, and where I'll actually be doing the food stylist for a show that's being filmed, and so and some other opportunities like that as a culinary producer and a food stylist and that sort of thing. So those opportunities are starting to come. More speaking, something that you do all the time. But I'll tell you, one of the coolest opportunities that came from a major obstacle, and we've been doing these now for about it'll be 2 years in March. So when the pandemic started, which was an obstacle for everyone, I'm sure you included, you know, it's like figuring out, okay, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What about the chocolate we just made? And so had the idea to start doing virtual chocolate tastings. And I still remember did the first one on March 8th, 2020, and then did one that same week on the 13th. And then from there, we've done since then have done well over 400 virtual tastings since March 2020, and from almost at this point closing in on about 18,000 people. And so that's all over the world. We've sent chocolate kits from as far, you know, to South America, to Europe, Asia, and all points on the state. So that's been a cool opportunity. And like even now this year, I already have tastings booked as far as August for virtual tastings. So it's not one of those things that was a slowdown of a fad. It's continuing to build strong. And, you know, so now it's a new line of business, product, service for us. So, you know, now we're just building really strong, really cool partnerships with companies like Cadillac, for instance, doing a lot of work with them, working with personalities like Angela Yee with the Breakfast Club. So she's a huge supporter. She's always shouting us out. She buys our chocolate. And surprise, you know, people think sometimes, oh, they buy them to give them. No, she'll buy 4 or 5 boxes and she eats them. So, you know, that she's one of the ones that we love that like, hey, this is a self-indulgence. And she has an awesome coffee that we make a chocolate with and sell in her shop up in Brooklyn. And so a lot of really cool partnerships that will start manifesting and materializing over the rest of over 2022 and going forward. So
I think that's incredible. I had a whole bunch of thoughts while you were talking. So first of all, when you were talking about going out to Hollywood, you're no stranger to Hollywood. Right?
That's so funny. Yeah. So
you've you've done some things there. I mean,
Mhm.
talk about that. Like, hey, I want to shout you out. I want everybody to see. I mean, I know a lot of people already know, but I want everybody who watches this to know that Phillip Ashley Chocolates is not just a chocolate. It's a premier. How do you describe it? How would you describe
So
it? It's you
yeah,
talked
so
about you working with Cadillac. I'm like, it's like a Cadillac of chocolates or something.
yeah,
Like
yeah, that is definitely um something we talk about. And so yeah, we are Phillip Ashley Chocolates is a premier luxury chocolate brand in the world. And so we make really refined chocolates using a myriad of ingredients, and so really an expression of storytelling in chocolate. And so I think that's really what connects with a lot of folks, is and why it ties so well to doing chocolate tastings or doing them where we're pairing them with wines and spirits. And so, we've been fortunate to do things like the Emmys, the Grammys, the Oscars, and where we're creating the chocolates for like the large after party. So not just like the gift bags, but, it's, you have the whole award ceremony, the show, and then afterwards, you go down to the convention center, and that's where everybody gets their award engraved and all of that other kind of stuff. And so we have chocolates at that. And it's usually always some kind of super well produced fanfare. This year, now with the pandemic and stuff, we were doing some stuff for the Grammys this year. It got postponed, and so now it's moved to Las Vegas. So, which I'm like, that's pretty cool. So, between that and, like I said, now doing actual things for a series, be it where once I was on Food Network Chopped, so I competed on that.
I was
And
cheering. I was in my on my
yeah,
couch.
I know. And then just getting opportunities, even now to, develop my own show, as well as being, a food stylist, where I'm just making sure, I'm just in the background, making sure the food looks good on an episode, kind of thing. So multifaceted, a lot of different things, and just looking for opportunities, because at the end of the day, these give me the platform to then promote more chocolates. And that's really the ultimate goal. And then if I can find some other cool little things to do to keep me busy in the midst, then that also is cool.
Cool little things to do. These are
Yeah.
little, really, I like your little things. I think it's cool. What I was gonna say is I remember when I was in grad school working on my MBA, I had to it's over there.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah.
I won't veer
Oh,
over
your
there. It's
awards.
a little junkie over there.
Yeah.
This was a plaque that I made, and it had to have our own saying, our own mantra. And at the time, and it's amazing because this has ended up being my life and my brand. But one of the things that you said was about obstacles and talking about the virtual wine tasting. So what it says is turn obstacles into opportunities,
Yeah.
adversity into advancement. And that's exactly what you've done with a lot of parts of your life. But I'm thinking especially about the virtual tastings, how it just created a whole new stream for you.
Yeah.
And I know that is true. So even with me, I'm still doing virtual speaking, and I plan to do. I bet I'm gonna get booked for lots of virtual for forever.
Because it's not going away. People
Yep.
realize now it's so much more efficient. So like they can hire you to speak, but now they don't have to pay for travel and hotels and all the other stuff they would normally do, which probably hopefully means they're paying you a little more to speak even. So so I think that combined with real live in-person events, as those continue to trickle back in, I think it gives you a whole different or more opportunities, because where you might have to say no to a deal because I'm already in LA speaking, blah blah blah, where you be like, oh, I can do that because I can do it, it's virtual.
Yep. I'm telling you, it is. And that's the way to, I think, and what is all about is the way to look at life. It's like
Right.
an obstacle is real. You can identify that this is an obstacle, but look at what can I get out of this obstacle that I wouldn't have otherwise, right? You probably
Yeah.
wouldn't even thought about doing the virtual. I don't know. You might have. You super creative, so you might have thought of it, but
Yeah,
but in
well,
many
it
ways,
had been on my radar before, but there was never a pain point pressing enough
sure.
to make me move on it. And then when I was like facing like so many others, like, well, do I go out of business now or what do I do? that literally sustained me pretty much all of 2020 because, the first three quarters of 2020, nobody was buying anything outside of, they weren't shopping, they weren't letting people come into, especially particularly food places. And so it's like, I got to figure out how to keep my people working and all that. And so the tastings blew up. But, one of the things you're always saying, and I think the thing that I love about the whole So What movement is like, obstacles and issues are going to come, no matter what. And I really do try to have a positive mindset, and I always tell myself, well, this is what I signed up for. This is what I could be doing something else and still have as many issues, or be in
Exactly.
lesser of a position to deal with those issues, if you will. And so, it doesn't matter what it is you're doing, you just have to have the mentality and the mindset. And also I'm a big on speaking things into existence, being creative with your words, because if I'm saying, I literally said I'm gonna be a chocolatier, and I'm a chocolatier, and then I said, okay, well, I'm going to do food styling, and now I'm doing food styling. Now, it didn't happen the next day or the next month. I was actually talking about this 2 years ago, and I've done little things, but my first big opportunity is now. So it's a process. So that understanding that the obstacles are not always negative things. Sometimes obstacles just time and timing. It's just about waiting and continuing to do the work and continuing to put in yourself. I was in a space where I was open and available to accept an opportunity. So I think that's a lot of times I try to encourage people, like, the obstacle isn't always, well, I'm divorced, or I just went through a divorce, which that happened to me, or, I'm in a pandemic, which that's happening to everybody, or depression, whatever. Sometimes that obstacle is just a matter of time, and patience or lack thereof can really determine whether or not you overcome that obstacle.
Yep. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So the other thing I'm thinking as you're talking is going back to, you said the first obstacle was I had to learn how to make chocolate. I didn't
Yeah.
even know how to make chocolate. And so that takes me to the second part of the Soul Success System, is
Mhm.
eliminating excuses. All
Mm.
right, that could have been an easy one. I can't be
Yeah,
a chocolatier because I don't know how to make chocolate.
true.
Talk about some of the excuses that you had to eliminate to get to where you are.
Well, you said it. It's like, well, like, that could have been the perfect excuse, and it was the biggest. It's like, well, I don't know how to make chocolate. Then after there's like, well, I looked into, the next mindset. Well, go to culinary school. Well, I looked into culinary schools. No one really taught chocolate. No one did. Not really. They didn't, especially in 2007, 2008. So, and even today, it's not a major focus. And as I know things that I know now, it's kind of by design from an industry standpoint, because it's
Okay.
designed to really kind of, be an exclusive community, so to speak. Now you're seeing people, because of time and technology and perseverance, more people are starting to enter into it, and become self-taught. But particularly when I started, being self-taught was essentially an unheard of thing, because it is a very temperamental and trying field. A lot of chefs that are very proficient in cooking and all of that don't want to deal with chocolate because of the trouble of it. And so the greatest obstacle, and one of the greatest excuses, like, and then it's an expensive thing to get into, like, the equipment and tools and all of that aren't cheap. And so that could have been an excuse. But like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day. And even Disney talks about he was a 14-year overnight success. So it was just piece by piece, literally, one chocolate at a time, one chocolate mold at a time. I remember, I went from hand tempering, which is just getting the chocolate to create the shells and bars and stuff, a process in chocolate. I went from doing that by hand to my first tempering machine, which I still have in storage. It was a small 1 pound. It would temper 1 pound of chocolate, 1 to 6 pounds, I think, even. Fast forward to today, I have, two temper machines that will do 150 pounds each, on a continual basis. And so just being able to kind of see the bigger picture and see down the line is a big way of eliminating the excuses. And then a lot of it's just, how bad do you want something?
Yeah.
I became obsessed. And then you have to really say, well, I don't have enough money. I don't have the equipment. I don't necessarily have the expertise right now. So what? So there you go. So yeah,
I love it.
and then proceed on. So I spent countless hours willing myself and researching and studying myself into this position. It ended up being the thing that I was meant to become. So
I love it. I love it. It's like, so yeah, so eliminating the excuses. If you don't know, if you want it bad enough, you will figure it out. You will figure it out and you will make it happen. I love that feeling. Like I get so excited because of course I love stories. So I like your chocolates have a story. And of course I follow you
mhm.
and what you're doing. And I love stories, which is even why I do these interviews.
Yeah,
Is I love hearing and sharing people's stories. But I love what you just said is how bad do you want it?
yeah,
How bad do you want it? Because you can eliminate excuses by getting information and investing. So that's what you did, investing your time,
mhm.
investing your money in new tempering machine and making it happen and making
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so
All right.
you are a testament to this next part of the SOA success system,
Okay.
calculating choices.
Hmm.
So on your journey, you have had to make lots of different choices,
Hmm.
personal and professional choices. Talk about some of the calculated choices that you've made to get you to Grammys and Oscars and Emmys and back to Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Many choices, numerous choices. One was the decision and the choice to actually move forward and do this full time. And it's like, you know, you get to a point, where um, you just really like, okay, like you're working at FedEx. I was working where I was, and the thing you really wanting to do is feel like you're called to do starts pulling you even more. And so you just have to make that decision to jump. And so that was the first choice, is like, okay, I can stay at this job and have a great career, and all is well, and that's it. So, or you can be like, well, so what about that? Let's go do this. And that was that choice. And then beyond that is just making decisions along the way. Choosing to be happy, being in whether it's being in a marriage or being in something that is not really beneficial or fruitful, and then saying, well, okay, I'm going to go through this process that's not going to be uncomfortable. So I think the biggest choice is choosing to be uncomfortable, in order to find the success and the peace and the direction that you're supposed to go. And also, I'll tell you, one of the biggest choices that I've made and I continue to make is not being afraid to be wrong or make a mistake. And so I think a lot of times people don't choose to do something because they feel like they may fail. And I've made plenty of failures, made mistakes, and continue to learn from them. And I'm sure I'll make others. And as a matter of fact, I know it. But the bigger thing is, obviously, as time goes along and as more success comes and you become in a more elevated position, your decision making paradigm changes and allows you to mitigate and limit the mistakes, and you become wiser in your choices and decisions. When you're learning from previous mistakes, those choices tend to be more, as you said, calculated. That you're doing the math and you're thinking about, well, if I do this, this is the outcome, or if I do that, that's the outcome. And so I spend a lot of time doing that. And then your choices become, well, do I want to take this opportunity or do I want to take that opportunity? So your choices and how you make them and what you get to select from begins to shift. So you go from kind of struggling and just making decisions to just make it, to then where you're now having choices about, how are you being successful and how are you prospering, because I've got these opportunities. I can't say yes to everything, but that also is a good thing because I have options.
I
So,
love that. That was beautiful, Phillip, because I ask the same questions in these interviews all the time, and I love the answers that I give. But I think you may be the first person who talks about the negative, challenging part of choices, the beautiful, positive side of it, and the
mhm,
opportunities that come in all the different choices. And that has definitely been the story of my life, and something that I
mhm,
say all the time too. I say this especially to young people. It's your life, so it's your choice.
mhm,
But then it's your choices, so that's your life.
mhm, mhm. That's a great way to put it. That's absolutely, I mean, the choices you make absolutely impact your life.
Yep.
My dad just posted today. He said, um, you know, when you're born, you're not given a good or bad life. You just get a life. The choices you make determine if they're good, if your life's good or bad. He literally made that post today. So y'all are
I
on the
love
same page. So
definitely. The other one that I've read related to that is when you're born, you look like your parents.
mhm.
You're older, you look like your choices.
That's true. That is true. We absolutely, in so many ways, all of that for real. So, and it's just no one, like I said, no one's perfect, and I'm definitely far from it. But I do try to really be mindful of the things that I do, the things that I say, and the decisions that I make, and the choices I make. Because now, even and you're in the same position, and as you're building businesses and brands and doing all these things, oftentimes your choices no longer just impact yourself. I have people who are working, who have families to take care of, bills to pay, lives to live, and that sort of thing. So my decisions, one way or the other, impact, the decisions and choices they ultimately have to make. So, it's a huge responsibility that I think a lot of times, we don't ever really think about until you kind of get into that and you're like, wow, I'm not, it's not, it's it, particularly in this day and age now, it's so much not, it's so less about me than ever. I
Right.
may be going off and doing this and doing that, but it's still all of that is being done so other people can thrive.
Yep.
So even me going off to be a food stylist in California, or opportunities we get with the Oscars and Grammys or Cadillac, any of that kind of stuff, it's all great and fantastic, but it still isn't about me because I need those things for other people's sake.
Yep.
So, you know,
It's and it's a beautiful thing. It's a challenge, and but it's also a beautiful opportunity and a blessing to be able to provide that. And I know um you love it, and I love it, and
yeah, yeah.
other people who are affected by your choices. I know we were excited to talk about chocolate, but there are a couple other or three other people who are affected by your choices, right?
Yeah, yeah, right, 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 right. Kids
So
and family and
talk
all that.
about your kids.
Yeah. So kids, well, I have twin girls, two sons actually. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Two sons. I
yeah,
missed a
yeah,
son. I'm
yeah.
sorry, son.
So no worries. So but and the twins are in college and they're off doing things. So again, choices matter. So all of those things. No, but none of them really work with me. Carter, the youngest, he'll come in. His work is to taste things. The girls just this past season worked here for a little while, but they're away at school. So and so that part's there. But no, that that life. But even here's another one. As my parents, continue to advance in age, I think about how my choices impact the latter part of their lives. Thankfully they
Sure.
put things in place to take care of themselves. But right now they work for me so as well. So this is they came out of retirement, thankfully. So I have cool parents that at least like me enough and love me enough to work with me. They love me anyway, but they like me enough to work with me, so for me. So but yeah, so all of those things I really think about, family, and now I have a wife and all of that. Just everything's three-dimensional. And so there's always, but they say is what too much is given, much is expected or something required. So it's one of those things. And so I again ultimately, I never try to take myself too serious. I always look to have fun. I always look to just enjoy life. I definitely don't stress too much about stuff, because that'll definitely kill you. So and just be mindful. I go to therapy here, and I see a therapist, because when you really need to talk or unload, I try to seek balance.
Sure.
Work out more, go get a massage. I make sure I get my head shaved once a week. So I make sure that I have those things that help me decompress, because it can feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders when you're constantly moving, and the phone's always ringing, the email's always dinging, and everybody else is like, what are you bringing? So, it's like, hey.
I love it. You just talked about a lot of elements of the Love Yourself event. You were supporter of the very first Love
Yeah,
Yourself event.
yeah, yeah.
We were so blessed to have Phillip Ashley Chocolates as a supporter.
We'll
And
do it
for that,
again. We'll do it
I
again.
love it. And I'm excited to have your support again, because it is about loving yourself, taking care of yourself. Take the time to do all those things, get a massage and take care of your hair, and just go to therapy. That's a great one. I'm
Yeah,
glad you said that, to take care of yourself, because you can't do these great things without being able to be here, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally, be present, and doing all those things
yeah,
help you do that.
yeah. I realized very early that I enjoy feeling healthy, feeling good. Like, I don't like walking around with headaches and stuff like that. And thankfully, that's not something that I typically have just in general. So, like, I can tell when something's off with me physically, because I don't get sick really. So, and I try to maintain that, as my baseline, is to
Uh-huh.
be healthy and be in good health, and even learning ways to do more to keep me there, both physically and psychologically. So
Yeah.
so yeah, you know
Well, having the right mindset can help you, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Having the right mindset, and then even with you, I think about you, just having big goals and big dreams, and
Yeah.
all those things even help you keep going and motivate you to take care of yourself and to take care of other people and all that, because
Hmm.
you never stop dreaming. And I see it, and I see it in all the creations and all the things that you're doing. It's always something new.
Yep, yep, yep.
So Phillip, okay, the
Yeah.
Solar Success System.
All right.
Learn how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices. You achieve so much success. And Phillip, you shared a little bit about your journey, and it's so much more. We all have
Mhm.
deeper stories, right? But I know that you are a so what success man.
Well, thank you.
You don't have to be where you are. There are many times that you could have made other choices that would have put you on a totally different path. So
Sure.
you are so a success man.
Well,
But
thank you.
Phillip,
Yes.
how do you personally define success?
How do I personally define success? I think at the end of the day, really looking at everything around you, and have you impacted and changed someone's life, be it one person or a million or however many that is. But, what have you contributed to society? What have you contributed to your family, and your community? And I think, on any level, in any industry or level of expertise, you can give something back. And honestly, even that's why I drive so hard to do what I can. It's more about trying to leave something and leave a legacy, and in one that has really impacted lives beyond my own, and touch people that I'll probably never know and hear from or whatever. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just, when you're done, what have you left behind? Your time on this earth, which is but a vapor, what did that do for the world? And so, just the more, especially I'm 43 now, this especially as that continues, it's like, you realize that, your time is short. So I try to make the most of every single moment.
I absolutely love it, and we're on the same page with that. Everything that I
Yeah.
do too is just like, okay, what's going to be left behind to give to people even when I'm gone,
Yep.
including this video,
Yes,
including this
there you go.
video,
Because it's now, it'll be out there forever. So
forever,
yeah.
forever. Forever. I'll tell you that is honestly, one of the big reasons why I'm doing this too, because
Okay.
it's going to influence people forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Absolutely.
Okay, one last question for you.
All right.
Um, Again, super inspirational story. What advice would you give? You've been dropping dimes the whole
Mhm.
time, but what advice would you give to somebody who wants to be successful, but they run into challenge? Maybe they have this big dream just like you. I want to be a chocolatier. I don't
Yeah.
know first thing about making chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what general advice would you give to somebody who wants to be successful?
Well, I would simply say want it bad enough to not accept any other option. You know, we've heard many people say, don't have a plan B, just be, and that's true. You really have to be dialed in and determined. Now it is going to look different over time and things will shift and change, but be innovative, be creative, and also be able to seek the help and insight of others. Know when to bring on people, know that you can't do it all yourself. And so that's what I always suggest is, persevere, don't give up. And that seems, and a lot of times very tongue in cheek or very kind of basic, but you wouldn't believe, like, not giving up is literally 90% of it, at least. It's like, I have to stick to this, no matter what. And I've got to figure out a way to make this work, and not only make it work, but make it thrive. And if you have that no quit, all go mindset, then it'll definitely, nothing's promised, but you will be, if nothing else, pleased and happy that hey, you gave it your all. So
You made me think about something else. Like even when you said you'll fail a lot. It's like some of my favorite people are the people who have failed a lot
yeah,
because they have tried a lot.
right.
Because
The
they
most successful people on this earth have failed the most.
exactly.
But again, that's also why you think about it, they fail so much because they've attempted so much.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
why it's like those are my favorite people. And I love what you said. And we'll close with that because it's powerful. You can drop the mic
Yeah.
on that. Is never give up. Phillip, I know that there had to have been plenty of times, especially early on, that you wanted to give up or that you considered giving up.
Yeah.
But you said, I'm not giving up. Same here. It's like, no, want it bad enough.
Yeah.
Want it bad enough not to give up.
Want
And
it
who
bad
knows, you might end up being in Hollywood too.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Well,
I
thanks so
love
much. This was
Thank
fun. My
thank you,
pleasure.
Phillip. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your journey. Thank you for sharing it. And we continue to watch you and expect huge things from you. I'm so
Awesome.
honored.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thank
You
you.
have a good one.